Alright guys, today we're going to be messing around with the fender back here a little bit. As you can see, I still have the stock fender on there, and I don't really like it. It's kind of big, it's kind of gaudy, and so I figure, well, why the heck not mess around with it and see if we can't take this existing guy and turn it into something that's a little bit more cut down, a little bit more clean. Couldn't find any tutorials for it on the internet, so hopefully all goes planned. So the first thing you got to do is you got to do interference removal. You're going to end up taking off the back seat, the main seat, and some fenders in here. You got to get to the electrical that's underneath here, and then the mounting screws are in here. So we're going to take this side fairing panel off, and this is just going to pull up a little bit. You're going to feel some resistance when you pull in there. There's some attaching grommets that are holding it there. As you can see on that piece back here, these pieces kind of hold it in, and then it wedges underneath the seat. You need to anchor it right there. Same thing on the other side. Sometimes the grommets come out with it, so keep an eye on that so that you can put it back. In order to take the seat off, it's going to require you to take a bolt that's right up underneath right here. And then same thing on the other side. There we go. You just pull back on that lift up, and as you can see right there, that's how it's hooked in. And then that bolt on that side, that bolt on that side, and the seat just comes right off. You're going to need to remove this plate right here, which you can see. Take the Allen that you were using. There's a couple of those little popping rivets. All you have to do is just push straight through those, and then all you do is just get your fingernail underneath it, and those things come right out. You're going to need to take these side fairings off in order to get everything apart here. There's a little bolt right there. Give that a little tug. Just walk it on up. That piece comes out. And the same thing on the other side. Just give it a little bit of a tug. You'll hear it pop. And there, and then just walk it up. There you go. This will just come right on out. And then you can slide this guy out of the way. There's a little rubber cap right there that you're going to take out. That just prevents water from splashing up inside of there. Make sure you hold on to that. In order to release these, you're going to want to press down on the tab right there, and then just pull out, and it literally just slides out. Tab in there, that guy right there. It's the same thing on the black connector. There's a little wrap around there. It's okay, just bend that right out of the way. Now you got your wires loose on the bottom side where you removed all your interference. And so now, those wires are just going to come out. Now keep in mind, as you're doing this, there's little flexing tabs in there that you're going to want to put back in order to route the wires properly. So don't just yank on it. Unhook it from the little retaining clip inside of there. And after that, your wires are free. Now we're going to remove the mechanical. There's 4 bolts inside of here, so we got our Allen. And we're just going to loosen that up. And when you go to release that last bolt, be very careful, because this will fall on you. And this whole assembly now comes off. So now that we've got everything inside, you can kind of see the underside of it. This is where the wires come in and run off to the lighting system, and then you've got another wire that kind of disappears into there. It controls the lights right there for the license plate. If you can see those. I'm going to remove these 2 bolts right here. And that just releases this piece right here, so we'll be able to take that right on out. And after you remove that, you'll be able to feed the wires right on through there. So we're going to take the turn signal off. There's a brace right there that's held in place by a Phillips head screw. Here's the retaining piece. This little piece that's inside of there, once you remove that bracket, you're just going to stick the screwdriver inside the notch and just turn it, and that'll pop right out. Come on right out of there. Now that we've got the turn signals removed off of there, we're going to remove this bracket. Once you get those two screws out of place, that just lifts right out. Down inside of there, there's going to be two little screws to remove your final light. Once those screws are out of there, this piece, this light just comes right off. We're going to remove these two bolts right here, which are actually holding the license plate in place. That's probably the worst part of the whole thing. Now we're just going to take the license plate bracket off. So there's only a few pieces from this whole thing that we're actually going to end up using in order to put this all back together. You may recognize this piece right here. It's that bracket that was originally holding onto those two red reflectors that's behind the license plate, and then this bracket up in here which has those J hooks on there, and it was helping to hold the blinkers in place. And so we're going to use these two pieces. All you're going to do is you're going to put those J hooks right through the holes that the blinkers were originally going through, and you're going to have to bend it a little bit. You'll notice that that's bowed a little bit, but it's not going to hurt it. It's the license plate's still going to fit on there just fine, and it doesn't look terribly distorted once you get it all back together, so it's not that bad. And then you're going to use two of the factory bolts that are up inside here. I recommend keeping the other two, because if you ever do want to go to another Fender Eliminator kit, a lot of them utilize the factory bolts, so I would hang on to those. And then you're going to use your blinkers and then the license plate light, because you need that stuff in a lot of states for legal reasons. So let's put this back together. So when you're doing this part right here, you'll want to take notice on each of your blinkers. I don't know if you guys can see about that, but on the bottom of the blinker, so when you have it oriented on the bottom, there's going to be some words that are right side up imprinted on the glass. That's how you're going to know where to put your left and your right blinker, is based off the orientation of those words. So what we're going to do is, if you'll notice inside this little groove right here, we're going to set the light in there, and we're just going to loosely hold it into place with some black zip ties. So as you can see, those are just kind of loosely on there right now. I don't want them to be super tight because that'll put a lot of tension on them when we put it back together. And when we put everything back together, you want these wires to sit over the top like this, because that hole is going to be partially covered up by this right here. And the other option is to fit it through a very, very tiny gap on this side, and this is a little bit sharper than this rounded edge. So you run the risk of damaging your wires if you run it underneath and go through like that. And so we're going to run the wires over the top just to spare everything. When you put the light back in, I took the light assembly off of that plastic piece, because again, you're going to need your light in order to illuminate your license plate. The brake light does illuminate it, and you'll probably be able to get away with that. You might actually need this light in order to illuminate it, so I'm including it for that reason. So this is going to kind of sit in there like that, and all of these wires are just going to go across the top. And once we fit them in there, they're going to go up just like that, and that's what's going to hold this into place. If you come up with a better way to secure this properly, please let me know. and leave that in the comment section. I'm trying to use nothing but the stock pieces. The only thing in this whole tutorial that's not stock is going to be these 2 zip ties. Everything else you're going to be able to do with stock parts. So that's how we're going to set that up. So we want to take our set of wires right here, and we're just going to, again, right over the top there, and we're going to run these wires up through that hole that we backed them out of earlier, and then we're going to loose fit this plate. The back set of 2 holes that's closer together on here, this plate is lined up perfectly with those holes. So we're going to take the nut that was originally used to hold the new license plate holding bracket when it had the reflectors on there. That nut that was holding the original license plate retainer to this bracket is right here. So we're going to use those nuts, and they thread perfectly onto the factory installation bolt. So I'm using a nut driver so that it's just easier to hold everything together without sticking my hand all the way up in there. So once you kind of have this loose fit on there, you can see it still moves around just a little bit. You want to get everything oriented the way you want it, and then start pulling some of the slack out of the wires, in particular the license plate light. That little bit of tension that you're putting on it is what's going to hold it into place. At that point, we're going to tighten down our zip ties so that they're nice and snug in there. Just to get these in there good and snug, I'm going to use a pair of pliers just so I can get a good handle on it and just really tighten those down. As long as they're sitting inside those grooves, that should prevent them from moving around too much once you have this all tightened down. Once you're happy with the way that looks, then we're going to go ahead and tighten down our bolts. Now that's on there good and snug. So after you've got everything mounted back up, you've just got your wires kind of sitting here. So we're gonna reroute those back in there just the way that they came out. I wanna run all of them underneath the retaining clip inside of here. Hold them in place real good. That rubber weather protection piece, as you can see on the inside of there, that is nice and dirty. So putting that back is obviously very important. Then we're going to take the rest of our wires and we're going to feed them back through here. So we're going to hook up the tail light first, then the license plate light second, and then we're going to hook up our blinkers, black to black, gray to gray. You'll notice after you do this, because we've taken so much slack off, there's going to be a little excess in the wires. Just tuck that back away in here. That extra slack isn't so much that you can't just tuck it out of the way. Now at this point, everything is functional again, so all we have left to do is put all the fairings back on. Once everything's back on, I'm going to just do an after visual test so that you can see how much more compact that all of this looks. So in order to put this all back, you remember this was the last of the fairing pieces to come out, so it should be the first one that you put back on. Just slide that back up underneath there. Put that in place. Re-bolt that protective cover on there. And then make sure that this upper fairing fits back into its rubber grommets up top. And just tap it back into place. And remember to install these. Pop it all the way out. Place it in the hole, push it down. Then another one right here. Make sure before you put it back that you check it for rubber grommets, because it's very difficult to put those rubber grommets to force them through when they've got that little plastic piece already run through them. The last one you're going to put on those side fairings are these little bolts right here to anchor it at the bottom. Then you're going to put your seat back on. Remember those two little hooks inside that silver plate installed. Then we're going to bolt it down. Then we're going to put this fairing back on. Now that you've got that little screw in there, same thing on the other side. You're going to pop your seat back on and you'll be done. So that's the finished product right there. License plate still illuminated, and the nice thing is now you can kind of move it around, play with the angles on it. You can even bolt it down by the top of it and have it kind of angled in. I know a lot of riders like to do that as well. And as you can see, everything still works the way it's supposed to. We've got our significantly cut down fender from all stock parts. The only non-stock part that we used on there was those zip ties we showed you. Everything else that was used in this kit was completely from the stock parts. Now if you plan on doing another Fender Eliminator kit, make sure you hold on to all of the old stock hardware, because a lot of times they call on the old stock hardware in order to get everything set up properly. Play around with it. If there's anything that you did differently during this, go ahead and leave it in the comments, and as always, I will continue to post more videos. Thanks for watching this, and happy wrenching.